Right, if we can come to order. I've never said that before, so I'm looking at that sounds good. If we could come to order, please, we'd like to start. Everybody take their seats. So I'd like to wish you a good evening. My name is Charles Lee, Jr. I am the chair of the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee. Welcome to the second half of District 2 and the District 1 Board of Supervisor Primary Candidates Forum. Tonight we are honored to have the following candidates: Monica Brown, who is the incumbent; Nora Dizon; Rochelle Sherlock. Those are District 2. And for District 1, Cassandra Brown and Michael Wilson. Why does it say Brown? Yeah, James. I'm sorry, there was a typo, and I didn't have sense enough to figure that out. So. I'm sorry, Cassandra James and Michael Wilson. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and supporting these candidates. And those of you who are unsure of who you are supporting, this will give you an opportunity to hear from each candidate. And hopefully we will have enough time for questions at the end. A little bit about the PAC. The PAC is a creation from the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, although the PAC is a separate entity that will not intertwine with the Chamber. Our board consists of 6 people, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 2 independents. We are taking a very bipartisan approach to supporting prospective candidates. Our goal is to support the most qualified candidates, regardless of race, gender, political affiliation, or party. I'd like to ask you to please silence your phones. And if there are any children that are here, I don't see any. Please be mindful that the noise can distract the candidates who have limited time to concentrate on the questions and formulate answers. We will have audience Q's and A's at the end of the moderation. If you have not done so, please head to the registration table and get a cue card. Write your question and hand it to a representative or to myself. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. The candidates portion will be moderated by Vernon Williams III. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. If we can have our candidates take your seat, please. I will lovingly do the introduction and lay down some house rules. Can everyone hear me okay? Clearly. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at our second District 2 forum tonight. My name is Vernon Williams III, and I am a board member of the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee, and I will be your moderator for tonight.
Monica. Oh, a little bit. Oh, okay.
We want to get you in screen, Monica.
Yeah.
FaceTime is valuable.
You know I'm gonna get you that one.
Before we get started, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping rules. For the audience, please make sure that you silence your cell phones so it doesn't distract the candidates. If you have children, which I don't see any here, we can disregard this next sentence. Candidates, you each will have 2 minutes to reply to the initial question, and then 1 minute for the remaining candidates to respond or refute the initial answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Example, if I call on Rochelle for a specific question, She has 2 minutes to answer that question. After she has completed her time, I then will ask for a rebuttal from both or either of the candidates can raise your hand. Please raise your hand to request your 1 minute rebuttal. I will go with the person whose hand was raised first and then the next person. Pretty clear, pretty simple instructions. For our timekeeping system, we have put in place a timekeeper and a timing system. Please abide by the time. I would hate to lovingly but directly cut you in mid-sentence, no matter how much value you're presenting in your answer, if you exceed the 2 minute allotted time. The stopwatch is pretty obvious. It's right there in front of you, in front of the candidate's table, and it will run for 2 minutes at each question, and 1 minute for rebuttals. Clear enough? Let's get into it. We'll start with the 2 minute candidate opening statements, and at the end, you will get 2 minutes to close. Let's start with Nora Dizon.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. My name is Nora Dizon. I am a resident, have been in Solano County since 1988. I have been following a lot of affairs in local government and have noticed that a lot of big decisions seem to go against the residents. It goes more for the interests of developers. And that is why I've decided that someone needs to be the voice for the people who are already living here. I am running my campaign on my own, self-funded, 100%, no deep pocket or developer influence at all. I avoid I do not apply for any endorsements. It's gonna be to help the community. That is my main motivation. I want to see responsible growth that allows for people who are already here to have the quality of life that they deserve. Why should people who don't live here have more of a say of what happens where we live? That's fundamentally wrong, and that is my entire motivation. I want to make things better for everyone who lives here. That's it. Thank you very much.
Nora, thank you. If you would be so kind to pass the mic to Rochelle.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and I see a lot of familiar faces here in Vallejo. I am running because I have been in community service for 30 years, and I have been involved in accomplishing a lot of different things, from establishing and being a co-founder of the Senior Coalition of Solano County, starting the Fall Prevention Program, starting the very first wildfire safety program and effort here in the county. I actually bring people together to solve and address key community issues that are plaguing our community. Right now, the city of Vallejo and District 2 has a lot of opportunity. There's so many wonderful things about it, but there's also some challenges. I want to reduce homelessness. I want to improve neighborhood and community safety. I want to foster economic vitality and promote environmental health and sustainability in doing all of this. And we can't do that by ourselves. We actually have to build partnerships. I am here because voters across the district have asked me to come here. The incumbent has voted against broadband in the city of Vallejo, has voted to dissolve advisory bodies, advisory committees. That's citizens' input, and it's an assault on democracy. The county has, sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes. The county is really, doesn't apply for critical funds that could help us address some of these issues, and one of the examples is the state of California had $200 million to clean up homeless encampments. Solano County was the agency that could have applied, they did not apply, leaving the cities to continue to grapple with the incredible homeless epidemic that we have without the kind of services they need. Another example was ABAG actually had grants for housing seniors who were housing insecure, at the risk of becoming homeless or that were homeless. And to my knowledge, Solano County didn't even apply for it. There's a lot of things that we can do and get things done together. So thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. Monica Brown.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out in the rain. I'm a retired teacher of 39 years. I am the incumbent, and I am starting my 8th year being on the Board of Supervisors. So several things and why I want to continue working is Sandy Beach does not have enough water to take care of half of their homes in terms of fire suppression. Homeacres, which is the unincorporated area, has $2 million for redevelopment. We're working on taking and fixing up the homes to make sure that that becomes a vibrant small community. We're working on Benicia Road. Many of you might be seeing what has happened there. When I got elected in 2017, people called me and said, what is going on with the Area Agency on Aging? That nonprofit went under. And I worked on, from 2018 forward, to making sure that the bylaws, as well as the fact that you can go on our website and making sure that you can see what we spent the money on, and we are now up to $10 million, and we do support $1.5 million going to Meals on Wheels. I also worked in 2021 on Laura's Law. Laura's Law is opt-in. That has to do with mental health. That was based on a family whose daughter was killed up in Nevada City when somebody who had not been taking his meds showed up and killed 3 people, and they said, we cannot let our daughter have nothing happening. I also worked on in 2021 home kitchens. What that meant is that each person can make up to $50,000 a year, and they can then take and produce whatever they want. So for example, if I was living near a school, I could then decide that maybe every Friday I would bring clam chowder to the schools if you ordered it ahead of time, so that you would have a way to eat something nice, but also a chance to make money. And part of the reason why to do that is that we have men and women at Travis Air Force Base who do not have access a lot of times to work. And I'm done for the moment. Want me to pass it down? I could hold it.
Ladies, thank you for being timely. Ladies, let's get started. The first topic of discussion in tonight's debate is on economic development. Monica Brown, this question is posed to you.
No?
Solano County has a guesstimated population of over 30,000 veterans. Do you have any plans to effectively improve the lives of those communities?
So right now there are 80 veterans who are homeless, so we're working on that to make sure everybody's taken care of. We do have a very good program on the 4th floor with working with our veterans to make sure that they do have jobs. And what I mean by that is making sure that they have access to education, making sure that their benefit package that they are supposed to get is there for them. It's very important that veterans come to the county and get all the information that they need. And so that would be one of the things to working with the veterans. The other is that I'm very active with the Benicia Veterans Center, and we make sure that if anything needs to be done, we do fundraisers, we do whatever it is to make sure that all our veterans are taken care of. But the key is to make sure that every veteran gets their benefits that they need. So I'll let it go at that. Because it's just about veterans, correct? Nothing else?
That is correct.
Okay, so wait, let me continue.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to the
55
home,
seconds.
wait, there you go. I'm going to go back to the home kitchens that you could do. So if you're a veteran, you could, in your own kitchen, create whatever meal that you want, and then you can sell it. You can make up to $50,000. So to me, and part of this was 2021, and if everybody remembers 2021, there was a pandemic. So it hasn't been as robust as all of us would like, but eventually we'll make it there. So you can be your own entrepreneur using your own kitchen under what we have set up in terms of the county. So thank you.
Thank you. If you could pass the microphone to Rochelle, this question is directed to you. The city of Vallejo has a population of over 40% that receives social services. What would you do to assist these recipients with resources that can lessen that number achieve financial solvency?
Terrific, thank you for the questions. Oops. So I think when we look at social services, the county has several things such as employment and eligibility, it's a public assistance, it has kind of connected with workforce development types of job training supports, dealing with things like health and public health. I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to make sure that people are getting access to those services. And that doesn't mean necessarily expecting them to come into a particular building, but really going to where they are, connecting them to the services, making sure that we're building partnerships with workforce development, building partnerships with businesses. We have to support businesses so that there's jobs that are available, and our workforce development programs actually need to make sure that it's supporting people to gain the skills and that they need to actually fulfill those jobs. So for me, it's about making sure that there's a presence in places where those populations are, might be more of that population might be living, really making sure that we've got services in South Vallejo, not always expecting people, there's a food desert in South Vallejo. There are places where then people have to go all the way over towards, I'm not sure what that street is for the county building, but then transportation is also a little bit of a challenge. And so it's kind of taking a comprehensive approach of ensuring that the services are meeting the people, ensuring that we're increasing access to services, working with partners and businesses such as the Workforce Development Corporation, making sure that Economic Development Corporation is doing their job and actually really addressing some of those barriers towards bringing bigger business in that can create a thriving community where we have good jobs. But we also need to address public safety, so people feel safe moving around in the neighborhood, so they feel safe going out at night, to go to jobs if they have nighttime jobs, if they have weekend jobs. So we have a lot to do, and it's multifaceted in that approach.
Thank you. Can you hear me through this?
No.
At all?
The mics are dead. Yeah, that's what I thought.
We're gonna work on that. Bear with us. Can you hear me this way?
Yes.
Okay. Nora, this question is directed to you. Although we have been trying to move back past the COVID-19 pandemic, it still lingers in our economy. What specific plan do you have for the county to continue its recovery from the impact of the pandemic, both in terms of public health and economic revitalization?
Wow, COVID, okay, how am I gonna solve it? I'm sorry, that's actually really a huge expectation from one candidate, but I will try to answer. There are a lot of common sense things that we've been doing by, the use of the mask has turned out to be something that people have kept, as a habit, and that's a really good thing. Hygiene. I mean, when you go somewhere also, you want to make sure you kind of keep your distance. If you feel like you have a sore throat or whatever, stay home. And you want me to go into economic, we are recovering from the horrible shutdown that we had. And we are still now struggling from the impacts because they reduced interest rates to a ridiculously low amount so that people were spending money, investing, and now we're coming back to reality. And so the best thing I can do is to be aware of what our federal government is doing with interest rates, understand how people are being impacted, and know how to respond. So that is gonna be a really huge thing where an intelligent response is being aware and figuring out how to help people. But be honest, that's just a really big thing to expect from one candidate. Quickly, on Monica's question on the veterans, we really need to make sure that they get a chance, because I've had the personal experience of seeing where they're simply turned away. So, that I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you for did you raise your hand for a rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see your hand.
Oh, no, I just was waiting
Okay.
for her to finish.
Absolutely. Yes, 1 minute on the clock for a rebuttal from Rochelle.
Okay, so what I wanted to speak to this, I do community engagement, so I'm accustomed to going out into the community, engaging people. I'm actively involved in the community and volunteerism. What we know is after the pandemic, volunteerism dropped 50%. We also know that engagement where people are coming out to events isn't at the same levels that it used to be. So part of addressing this is actually to make sure that we're having a thriving economy, a thriving business economy, and thriving events where people can come, feel safe to engage, enjoy the benefits of some of the small business. We've got incredible small businesses here in Vallejo. You think about Provisions and some of those places. You think about what Vallejo Main Street is trying to do right now in terms of hosting events. You know, Friday night art walk, the farmer's market is phenomenal. So what we have to do is start to create something that's a buzz that people feel that they can come to and belong and feel safe and engaged, but they also need to see that there's a place that they belong. In other words, if I go to something that's like Main Street, do I see other people like me? Do I feel like this is a place for me to engage in those kinds of, thank you.
Thank you for your rebuttals. Yes, Monica. 1 minute on the clock for Monica Brown.
Oh, wait, that died also?
It does-
Okay, I didn't know both of them had
We're
died.
actively working.
Okay, so I get to use my teacher voice, is that what
You
you're
get to
telling
use
me?
your teacher
All right.
voice.
So what I want to talk about in terms of what we need to do with COVID is that we used a lot of our rescue plan money that we got, which we got, I think it was $68 million, to take and make sure that everybody was able to stay in their homes if they needed to that. But more than that is that we need to talk with Congress and say we need to get the vaccines back that are free. Because if you're reading the newspapers, COVID is very rampant. It's still back, it's not gone away, and we need to work with people to explain to them that we need to have the Norman King Center open on Saturdays again, and you can come and you can get vaccinated. So we need to make sure that we work on stuff like that. But going back to workforce, all of the community colleges, and we are very fortunate that we have a community college in Vallejo. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money out there. Let's work with the trades. We have in Benicia, the iron workers. We have in Fairfield with the carpenters. There's lots out there. It's just a matter of tagging in. It stopped at 25, so I don't know what that means.
You're past the one.
I apologize.
It's okay.
Because there's different colors.
1 minute is in the blue.
Got it. Miss Richardson knows me too well. Anyway, so thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to shift our conversation to the topic of public safety. And Monica, we're going to begin with you.
Okay?
Based upon your experience and from what you have seen of elected officials, and seeing the impact of that in the city of Vallejo, how would you do things different to get this city out of financial peril?
Well, because Vallejo passed Measure P and they're making $18 million, I don't think they have the financial peril that, say, Fairfield has, where they're 20 million in the hole, say where Benicia has. But I did not like hearing that we had to pay $5 million to the gentleman that died at the Taco Bell. I mean, that just came out, that was wrong. I really, the county has nothing to do with cities, so I want everybody to understand that. I'm not on the city council, but I think there needs to be a reckoning with the city council members and just say that maybe that $5 million could have been used to retire some people early. I'm just sharing. But in terms of what the county does is that we are here, should there be the people who love to do those circles, so we're there to as backup in terms of helping. But in terms of actually what the city is doing with the PD department, there's nothing that the county can do. We can just be here to support if you need extra help, but that's all that we can do. But again, I really think there needs to be the community talking to their members of the city council and saying, why are we paying an additional $5 million again? That could have done what in terms of working on roads, if nothing else, or housing the people we're talking about. And instead, somebody died. And I'll let it go at that, because if you guys know the story, I'm not going to go, because it was sad, very sad.
Thank you. Would you like to rebut,
Yes.
Rochelle?
Yes.
We'll put 1 minute on the clock for Rochelle's rebuttal.
Okay, so public safety is a huge issue and it's multifaceted. We need to make sure that our community members feel safe. We need to make sure that people who or have been involved in the criminal justice system have the kinds of supports available to them to treat mental health issues or behavioral health issues, addiction issues, to make sure that they have opportunities to get jobs. The Sheriff's Department and the county jail actually developed a partnership with the trades to help people that were inmates to get jobs, so when they came out, they actually could make a living wage. I brought in, and I partnered with the county, and I brought in $6 million to create a transition from jail to community program. And in that program, we brought in all the stakeholders, all the experts, did the research on evidence-based practices to find out what worked. And we were able to not only reduce recidivism over the course of that program, we were also able to increase well-being. And that well-being was things of mental health, depression, it was things about housing security, financial security, getting them connected to jobs, getting them connected to their community. It was a phenomenal program. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. We'll add 1 minute to the clock for Monica's version.
I just had a question, which wasn't your question with the Vallejo PD and had nothing to do with the sheriff? Isn't that understood the question, sir?
The question was based on your experience and from what you have seen of elected officials and seeing the impact of that in the city of Vallejo. How would you do things differently to get this city out of financial peril?
Got it. I just wanted to just let everybody know that the question had to do with Vallejo. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Correct.
And
Nora?
the county is supposed to provide critical services to residents in Vallejo, whether they're a citizen or not. So
I don't mind the rebuttal. I just mind the rebuttal without the hand
Yes, sir.
raised,
Yes,
so
sir.
we can get you on the clock for 60 seconds. Nora, this question is directed to you. As the supervisor that covers a portion of the city of Vallejo, how do you intend to work with the city of Vallejo's police department and the District 1 supervisor to broker a better community relationship?
All right, that is kind of out of the actual role because the supervisor is supposed to deal with county issues and therefore that would be the sheriff. But if you're saying you want me to work with the police department, so you know that with the city, that the PD chief is hired by the city manager. And the city council are the ones who have the authority over the city manager. But that being said, I just want to make sure everybody understands that I'd be very happy to work with the city council if they want it, and the PD if they want it. They may feel like I'm stepping out of bounds, but I've been kind of working with our police department in Fairfield for many, many years, and I think it really is a big deal for residents to be able to have a good flow of communication with the PD. And you're gonna hear this many times because I think it's a mistake to jump into anything and say, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Well, I think a lot of the problems that we have are due to the fact that we don't really understand what all the elements are. My answer, my real answer is study. I'm happy to step in. I've communicated and interacted with the PD in Fairfield for over 20 years. And it has been very useful. It's not perfect, but I'd be very happy to do that for Vallejo. Very, very happy.
Thank you. I was hearing that. We'll move on to.
Wait a minute, you should say, I did not see a hand
I
raised.
did not see a hand raised, so we will proceed forward. Rochelle, this question is directed to you. The city of Vallejo has often been accused of working in a silo. How would you foster relationships between the county, neighboring cities, and law enforcement to bring about true collaboration?
Well, I've worked with the city of Vallejo and other partners for true collaboration on the wildfire preparedness stuff. So I reached out to the city of Vallejo, and basically it's like, what's in it? What are our common goals? What are we trying to accomplish together that we're invested in? In this case, I went ahead and said, listen, we've got wildfire risk going on. You've got property that surrounds Green Valley and is up in the water treatment plant area. I'll write a grant, we just need to come together. It was the city of Vallejo, it was the city of Fairfield, it was the Cordelia Fire Protection District, it included the the city of Fairfield Fire Department, it included the Solano Land Trust. So I think part of it is saying, hey, we've got issues that don't stay within boundaries, right? These cross homelessness, crime, climate change, all of these things cross boundaries and jurisdictions. So we have to build, one, respectful and professional relationships, come together to say, what is my part in the county, how can I foster that? How can we also work together to advocate at the state and federal level for any changes that we need, or to draw down money together? Because when you actually show collaboration, when you show alignment, when you actually put together a really good proposal, you're much more competitive to receive grants. And so I would work on those things. I think, first of all, it's establishing a lot of trust, seeing where those boundaries are, figuring out what those roles and responsibilities are, and then really working together. I'm a worker. I roll up my sleeves, and I've been able to accomplish a lot of things by bringing people to the table and just saying, what are the issues? And what are the root causes of those issues? Right? How do we address that instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it? Because there's a lot of Band-Aid, and in the county does a lot of, it's the city's fault, it's CAL FIRE's fault, it's somebody else's fault. There's a lot of this, and it's not just the county, but there's a lot of pointing in different directions at one another to blame. We gotta say, this is our problem, these are our issues, and it's up to us to create the solutions, and together we can. Because we bring the brightest people who have all these different perspectives and points of view, then we can solve problems.
Thank you. I do see a hand raised. We'll put 1 minute on the clock for Monica's rebuttal.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So several years ago, a report was done on a report was done for the city of Vallejo to explain what to do with silos. I don't think anybody read it, and what you need to look at is what the requirements were, what needs to happen. So I think what you need to do, you have Toro University, the city, the county, we use them a lot because they have the nurses and the doctors that have helped us a lot when it came to COVID. And sit down and talk with Toro, this is what we need to do. What trainings can you bring to us? As well as work with the League of Cities. What trainings can come so that we can work together? But I would find that report and see what it had to say. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I see another hand raised.
Yes.
We'll allow 1 more minute for Rochelle, beginning now.
Okay. I am a consultant that does organizational effectiveness. I work with teams, I work with leaders, I work with boards. Training never solves key problems. You have to get in the room together, and it's helpful. Training has a component to it because we need to inform ourselves. But in reality, we have to come together and say, how do we solve this and really bridge those relationships, and then who's going to do what and how we're going to move things forward. I think that we spend, and as a consultant, I think we spend too much money on consultants to write reports and nothing gets done with it, and jurisdictions don't. But it's really around, why are you in this? What do you want? Bringing the citizens together. All the advisory boards, not all of them, but a lot of the advisory boards were dissolved. We've got to reestablish those advisory boards. The Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board, the Historical Commissions Advisory Board, the Solano Partnership Against Violence, the Agricultural Advisory Commission. All of those things are key pieces that partners are already coming together to tackle that problem.
Thank you. So our last topic of discussion before we go into a brief intermission is homelessness. Monica, I'm going to direct the first question to you.
Thank you, my friend.
You are so welcome. It's my pleasure. The county has partnered up with several nonprofits to tackle the crisis of homelessness, and yet we still have a growing issue within the county. But no city within our county as much as Vallejo. How should we measure current homelessness initiatives and policy, and what benchmarks should we use?
So we use rescue plan money to help with Broadway as well as Sacramento. So we're not building as fast as we could. I agree with that. We don't have enough money. I think you need to look at Gavin Newsom and ask him, why did he give $5 billion to make sure that BART and other jurisdictions are balancing their budget when they themselves don't want to cut back or have less management? So I think you need to look at where some of the money is coming from the feds. But part of it too is that, If I was living back east right now, I'd have hopped, I would have come out here yesterday, because it is cold and cold. So to be honest with you, to make it happen, you're gonna have to look at money, you're gonna have to look at NIMBYism, and you're gonna have to look at how much open space do we really wanna keep. I know that's sacrilegious, but to be honest with you, where are you gonna put folks? So, I mean, seriously, where are you gonna put folks? So I think we need to look at maybe over on Tuolumne, maybe some of the businesses that are no longer working there, we can take over some of those buildings and rehab it, and that could be a job that we train people. So I think it can be done both ways, but you need to have somebody who's willing to take that on, and I think you need to look at the leadership with city. The county is willing to help, but we will do what we can, and we did with the rescue plan money. But ask yourselves, what did the city as well as the school district do with their rescue plan money? Because the school district got $35 million. The city, I believe, got $25 million. What was really done with that? And so that would be, I think these are kind of the questions, but that I would ask anyway if I was a citizen of Vallejo.
Thank you. I do see a hand raised for rebuttal, so we're going to allot 1 minute to Rochelle, beginning now.
So homelessness is a multifaceted problem. Some people have been priced out of the market because there's not enough housing stock, right? And especially not enough housing that's for at affordable levels for people that are in lower or to very low income levels. So we have to address that issue. And yes, that issue is part of the city's problem, but it's also part of the county's problem. We also need to look at the fact that a lot of people that end up on homeless, particularly the chronically homeless, have mental health issues, or they have addiction issues, or they're dual diagnosis where they both have mental health and addiction issues. The county is the one that's responsible for providing those services, and so the county needs to be at the forefront of making sure that they're addressing it. One of the things we need to do is we need to advocate to the state of California. They developed a law, Prop 47 and others, that was well intended to release people back into the community for crimes that are associated with addiction or drug possession, etc. The problem with that is there were no services, there is no way to support them to address the behavioral health, the addiction issues, the mental health issues, and to land and get secure and become, kind of a stable in their life. So we need to do more.
Thank you. Nora, this question, is that a hand raised for a rebuttal?
Yes, sir.
We will give you, Nora, 1 minute on the clock, beginning now.
All right, you're gonna hear this over and over from me. We need to study the situation. Rochelle's right, county should be taking care of this, it's supposed to be the county. But what I have seen is that there are actually people out there, pastors, who have suggested, make good suggestions on how to help the homeless. And we actually even have some who are running programs that are extremely effective. But for some reason, they don't really get support. In fact, they're almost attacked by our local government. And I'm gonna say this, like I said, for many things. We really need to study and evaluate what is going on and find ways to help the homeless, because I think that a lot more can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that a hand, half hand?
Can I
You can. And we'll put a minute on the clock for you now.
Okay. So a lot of community groups and churches are really the ones that are trying to pick up the slack of government services to support people, right, that are in need. And they're doing good work and they have a good heart. But providing food, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the structure, they don't have the in-depth understanding of some of the complex issues and how they interact with one another. And what they need to be partners at the table, and this is one of the things we did with the Prop 47 program, is we made sure that we brought faith partners to the table. So they were a key piece of it. We made sure there were nonprofit partners at the table. We made sure that there were city partners at the table and county partners at the table. And the different departments within the county were working together and talking with one another. So that's the kind of work we need to do. God bless all of you who are doing the work and trying to really serve, but we need to address the root issues and really support people to be successful. And my churches just can't go far enough by themselves.
Thank you. Nora, this question is directed to you. With the state budget crisis looming, what impacts do you see trickling down to Solano County, and how do you plan to respond to those impacts?
Okay. It seems to me that the state has already identified areas where they might cut. It seems nebulous. What's gonna happen again is that the local governments are gonna have to deal with the repercussions. And I have to say, the question, the way it's worded, what am I gonna do? I'm sorry, you're gonna be tired of hearing this, but we need to study what's going on. We need to see, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you about what I am going to do. That's not my style. My style is to figure out, okay, what the heck is going on? How can we fix it? So, unless I know what the budget cuts are gonna be, who is gonna be affected, it's pretty much impossible to say anything else that would not be a lie. I just don't want to fill your ears with false promises. That's not my style. I will study, then we will see what can be done, and that may be what you don't want to hear, but that is the truth. And I'm not going to give you a bunch of sound bites that end up being nothing. We need to know, to be able to answer, and that may not be the normal type of response you want to hear, but that is in actuality the truth. We have so many things that are going wrong because we've got different goals that people have. Some people just want to be in the limelight and saying things that sound great. Well, I'm not one of them. I want to study and do things right.
Thank you. I saw your hand itching to be ready. She's gonna have 45 seconds to itching up. We are gonna put 1 minute on the clock for Rochelle, beginning now.
Okay. So one of the issues that we're facing across this county is the fact that we have not had economic development. We've had virtually no housing development. If you look at revenue streams to city services and county services, they're different but also overlapping. So the county gets a lot of dollars from federal funds and from state funds. Sometimes it goes from the federal government to the state and down to the county. But then there's also property taxes and different fees, permit fees, etc. On the city, they rely a lot on sales tax. They rely a lot on business. So what we need to do is we need to be pushing for a vibrant economy, really supporting economic development to increase revenue across the county, across the cities. And we have 4 cities in this county right now that are in financial troubles, right? And it's tough, and they're not alone. Others across the state have the same issues, but we really need to be looking at what are those revenue streams and how can we begin to increase those. So that's where I want to be. As well as build collaboration so we're more competitive for grants. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. The county's not going after enough money.
Thank you. Oddly enough, the last question is for you. How will your policies address the needs of the special population within the homeless community, such as youth, veterans, or those with disabilities?
So I think one of the things that we need to do is we know that a lot of, I spent some time in child welfare services. I was a child welfare services worker a long, long time ago. I was a foster parent training a long, long time ago. That was kind of early in my career. And what we know is that a lot of the youth actually from foster parents, they end up homeless because once they emancipate from the foster care system, they land there. So what we have to do is we have to partner with some of the foster care agencies that currently exist, make sure that there's a transitional age youth program, track them in some way to make sure that they don't end up on the streets. As far as people with veterans, people with disabilities, there was a really great outreach for veterans. I know that there's working with the Veterans Office to ensure that they're entitled to receive all of their benefits, make sure that we're matching them, doing a lot to match them with a place to stabilize their home and their housing. And then also people with disabilities. People with disabilities are probably of the lowest income because they're really living off of SSI, SSDI, so state subsistence, and they don't have the means to take care of themselves. So we have to look at, in that case, we have to look at programs that might be available, partnerships, funding that might be available. But for me, it's like if we know that this population is likely to become homeless, we need to actually get out in front and begin to try to prevent that, track them, and connect them to services.
Thank you. Before we conclude and go into intermission, each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to present your closing statement. Nora, we'll begin with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, so, thank you for having me. I'm a very different person. I don't like to say things that I don't mean. I don't like to say things that are, to me, is like a false promise. I don't want to give you sound bites. I like to study things and get things done. That's the way I am. I've got the background in understanding numbers, so it matters to me if there's a problem with that, we're overspending. We have a problem where we've got an attitude where people are just not caring too much about the effectiveness of programs and expecting to be able to simply tax people more in order to pay for the things that they want to have. And that is something I'm fundamentally against. I think we need to make government more effective. And right now we've been talking about budget problems that are looming. Well, all the more. You know, I'll give you a very concrete example. When I ran for city council, I knew where every single sign that I had was. And I did not have people replace them and just toss the old one to the side. That's government-minded thinking. That's not what I am about. I'm about watching out for people, trying to make sure that money is not spent like there's no end to it. I don't believe people should be taxed unless there's really a need for it. And I will be your watchdog. I am very different. That's me.
Thank you. Rochelle, closing statement?
Thank you. You know, I have spent so much time, 30 years in community service. A lot of that overlapped with county kinds of programs and services. And we talked a lot about what some of our solutions are, but what I really want to tell you is where my heart is. Why did I do 30 years of community service? So, had a very difficult childhood myself, very intergenerational poverty, intergenerational cycles of abuse and neglect, intergenerational cycles of chaos. I didn't have support to grow, and I had a lot of issues with self-esteem. I didn't think I was intelligent. There's a lot of things. So when I grew up, I decided I was gonna make my life matter. And at the end of my life, I was gonna be able to look back and say, I made a difference in somebody's life. That is really why I'm running. Because believe it or not, I care about all of you. I care about the people that are homeless. I care about the people that are suffering. I care about the people that are afraid in their communities. I care about the seniors who are lonely and neglected and being left alone on their own. This breaks my heart. So not only do I bring a lot of experience and expertise in getting things done, I care. I will lock arms with each and every one of you. I will talk to every one of you. I want to hear your ideas and your thoughts. I want to hear what's important to you. And I want us to work together to change things. Government officials should actually care about the people. They should not be rude and dismissive. They should allow opportunity for voice. I will work with that. You will see me in the community. You have seen me in the community. I can point to a lot of people here that have seen me in the community. They know me from the work that I have done, and the vast majority that volunteering my time to try to help nonprofits be more successful or groups be more successful. I mean, I'm all in, and I'm all in because I care, and that's really why I'm here, because I care, and I want to make a difference.
Thank you. Dr. Brown?
So I'm running to finish some of the things that I mentioned in the beginning of my statement with Sandy Beach, with homemakers. But here's my big concern. Number one, we need to make sure that Travis Air Force Base is protected. If no city, you guys are the ones who knew what happened when Mare Island closed down, and they're still suffering 30 plus years later. We still have Mare Island that has dirty dirt. That is unacceptable. I've talked with John Garamendi, he's aware of it, and he's trying to do what he can do. But more than that, is that the county has 18 departments, just FYI, 18 departments. We have public protection, obviously that's the sheriff, make sure we have the 3 jails, those kinds of issues. Health and public assistance, we have a place in Vallejo, a place in Fairfield, and a place in Vacaville. Educational services, we have the public library, and many of you, I like JFK. If I could, I would put in a fireplace in JFK and sit there when it's a rainy afternoon and read a book. But one of the things is that we have looming is known as California Forever. We have not a clue what's going to happen. That is in the unincorporated area. So that means the 5 members of the Board of Supervisors are their government. None of us know. I'm not gonna go much further because I do not people who are billionaires try to go after me to recuse myself because I've made up my mind over something. But we all need to be very aware of what that might mean. And so I know you guys are paying attention because I hear it. And so that is a big concern I have. As terms of cuts, we have contracts. I'm looking at some people there with SCIU 2015. We all have contracts. And so if there's gonna be any cuts, you have to look at contracts. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. So that concludes our moderated portion of the District 2 candidates. Let's take a brief 10-minute break, and when we return, we'll start our audience questions and answers. If you have not submitted a question, please do so at the sign-in table. Remember, if you have any questions, let's get them written down so that we can create some juice here, at least in this conversation. We'll take a break for 10 minutes.
Hey, just watching you move was juice.
Testing. There we go. Is that loud enough? Is that loud? Can you hear?